So Tim Pool is somebody who I believe calls himself a journalist. Although if you scroll through his videos, his titles in his videos are extremely tooly. If you go through, just look through his most recent videos. So this guy is somebody who says he's left wing, and he'll say left wing things, and we're gonna look at that in a second here. But all of his videos are just massive tools for the right wing, whether it be making videos saying Bernie Sanders is going to lose because he's a white male, where he's just using it as a tool for the right instead of coming at it from the aspect of, look at these ridiculous people on the left, and then I'm reaffirming my stance in support of Bernie Sanders and saying that he will win, based on data. He uses it, and then the comment section is full of a bunch of, right-wing tools saying, oh, great, 4 more years of Trump, and just being, like, really stupid and trolly. It's really annoying. But, I want to see, what I want to see Tim Pool do? I want to see Tim Pool do a video on any of the Medicare for All polls that have came out, saying 70% support it. Make it clear, saying the title that, it's extremely popular, and then start out the video affirming your stance that you support Medicare. That is, if he does support Medicare for All. To be fair to him, I actually don't even know if he supports that. It's possible he doesn't, although he supports Bernie Sanders, so you would assume he does, but I don't know. But I would love to. That'd be so hilarious to watch, because his fans would absolutely revolt. But he's basically the Dave Rubin of journalism, basically, is what he is. And you hate to call someone that, and I don't mean this in a malicious way, I guess, but it's just the truth, and I can't really hold back from saying it. So, Tim Pool went on the Rubin Report. I was going to say the Dave Rubin Report, and he was on Joe Rogan recently, and he spends almost like the whole 2 hours talking about Twitter and YouTube, which is such a boring topic. I don't even know how you fill that much time talking about Twitter and YouTube demonetization and Twitter's rules or whatever. It's like, oh my God, it's so mundane. And to Tim Pool's credit, at least he interjects with some politics, but Dave Rubin's mainly the one who steers away from it. I think he didn't want to get into a discussion about left-wing ideas, probably because that's just a bad hole for him to go down. But Dave Rubin, he just shoos away from it. I don't know if it's going to be in the clip that I show you guys, but he certainly, literally outright says, before we get too down into politics, let's go into this. So first I'm going to show you this clip that I'm going to show you guys. Tim Pool's going to explain that basically he was a very, very big fan of Bernie Sanders back in the 2016 primary. And then he's also going to say that he's caved to identitarianism or something, and then conclude by saying that, he probably still leans in his direction. Check it out.
It's like, would you ever want that? How gay, big goddamn deal. I would never want anyone to give me anything other than equality, which you don't give me.
So Amber Tamblyn, there's a story that was out today or yesterday about Amber Tamblyn saying she's not going to vote for Bernie. She wants to support a woman. And she said something like, we now have a choice. And to me, I thought that was crazy. I'm like, as much as I am excited for the people of color and women who are running for office, I certainly think that their perspectives will bring a unique value to our political climate. I wouldn't base my vote on the color of their skin or their gender. But here is someone who actually says, Bernie, you're great, but woman. And I'm like, that doesn't mean your ideas are good.
Yeah.
There's a certain perspective you might hold that may be valuable. If that's expressed, I would vote for the expressed perspective. But I'm not going to be like, I won't vote for a man.
I tell you this as a Bernie guy, but they're coming for Bernie. I mean, at the end of the day, by the next year and a half of an election, Bernie is the old white guy. At the end, that's what he will be. And he will be done and destroyed by his own creation.
And this is why
And that's a beautiful thing in a weird way.
In 2015, this is an important story. I was walking with one of my coworkers at Fusion, frothing at the mouth about how much I loved Bernie. I was ranting loudly, going through all the things he said and done. Here's the important thing people don't realize. In 2015, Bernie Sanders says no open borders. That's a Koch brothers proposal. He says his free trade agreements destroyed manufacturing in this country. We need stronger borders. Illegal immigration is bad because it's hurting the middle class and the lower class. And I'm like, he also talked about student loan forgiveness, expanding programs. He's a little too left for me in a lot of areas, but I was like, this is a guy who means it. That's true. There's a very dramatic difference in perspective here. I was like, this guy's telling the truth. What happens once he gets on stage? White people don't know what it's like to be poor. Whoa, Bernie.
That was pretty good.
I wasn't even trying. I'm like, that's not true. What's going on here? Then he goes, we must get equal pay for women. And I'm like, we have 3 laws in place already. Bernie, what are you doing? Now I'm looking at the future we're in, and I'm like, Bernie decided to endorse Hillary, and he started pushing this narrative that has stabbed him. It's backfired on him. Yeah. Now they're saying, I won't vote for a white man. Sorry, Bernie, bye.
Yeah, congrats.
I'm like, there you go. That's what you got. So
white man with 3 houses. Don't forget the 3 houses.
I will say this though. I still lean in his direction. I do think he's a little further to the left than I am, but even after all of these things, if I was going to vote, and I probably won't because I don't trust anybody, if I would vote, he still has some brownie points from me. I still do like him, but I think he shouldn't have endorsed Hillary. He shouldn't have pushed the identitarian stuff, and that really, really pushed me away from him. It did. So I'm taking a close look at Tulsi Gabbard right now.
Alrighty, so here is the thing. Bernie Sanders is not above criticism the same way nobody's above criticism. And you guys know this because, I'll criticize Bernie Sanders at any turn, whether it be signing that letter to the UN saying be softer on Israel or, the gender wage gap, which is what we're going to get into here in a second. And, the BDS tweet that he sent out. All the other kind of stuff that he does where we don't agree, we call him out for it, and it's all fair game when it comes to Bernie Sanders. Now, what's unacceptable is dumb smears like this. So this comment is one that people like Sargon of a Fraud also use to voice their, dissent towards Bernie Sanders, who previously had said they support him. But the context of that comment that he was making was specifically talking about what it's like to live in black communities, black impoverished communities. It's not, and this is the mind-boggling part of that statement. Bernie Sanders grew up poor, so that statement, he doesn't believe it. He goes to West Virginia. He talks about poverty. His entire existence is based on combating and offering solutions to poverty, and those things are universal. And so you actually think he thinks that white people don't know what it's like to be poor? He was poor, and he's white. That is literally the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. It is frustratingly stupid, and I just watched the full clip again, and what he's doing is he's talking about the specific communities that are affected by institutional oppression that exists, which is not laws on the books. What institutional means is it's an expression of the social and political institutions that exist in the United States. So whether it be studies showing that African Americans get harsher sentences for the same crimes, controlling for all other variables, or whether it be we see different arrest rates despite the same usage rate. Okay, all of these different things. And so what he's doing is he's describing the community that they live in, and so one of those points is they don't know what it's like to be poor. Now, that's obviously not true because he was white, he's poor. People who are white know what it's like to be poor. And the fact that anybody who's not a smear merchant who used this is either dumb or they're a smear merchant, I guess is really it. I mean, Sargon of a Fraud is a smear merchant. I don't know at this point if Tim Pool is a smear merchant or if he's a doofus. I'm really not sure with either one. And I don't mean that with any, malice. But the point here being is that's not the context of the clip, and it's dumb to think that he actually believes something like that when he was white and he was poor. It doesn't make any sense. So stop using smears because they're legitimate criticisms, and if you're somebody who doesn't agree with his policy positions, combat him on that. Don't do dumb smears like that where you say that. He was describing the characteristics of the community. He was listing off saying you don't know what it's be like, and he was specifically talking about the police and the way that they treat the black communities, which is obvious fact. So don't smear Bernie Sanders. There are legitimate criticisms you can use. Do not smear the man. And then he brings up the women's pay gap thing. That's actually legitimate criticism that I actually agree with Tim Pool on. Because if you look at how the numbers break down for the gender wage gap, the real way that works is, and it's a very stupid metric, is you take all of the cash earned by males and you take all the cash earned by females, and then you divide it by the amount of hours, and then you do a proportion, you do a ratio. How the hell does that tell you what it is? So what is it, 79 cents on the man dollar? That's totally false. Now, is there some sexism that it may exist in the workplace that results in like a 91 to 100 cent? Maybe, but I'm still having a hard time understanding how that goes down. But I'm somewhat open to that. But certainly the 79-cent figure is totally bogus, and it doesn't make any sense because it's not controlling for any of the factors, and also doesn't control for that, women more often than men, far more often than men, prefer to take care of the kids rather than work. And also, due to being child bearers, they are more likely to take time off and things like that and be working less than their male counterparts. There's nothing that's, misogynistic about me saying any of that stuff. I mean, and really the end game should be, we should have women having the option, to do whatever they want, whether they want to be a stay-home mom or whether they don't want to be that, do whatever you want. That's supposed to be the goal. And so that's a legitimate criticism, but come to the conclusion that he's like caved to identitarianism or whatever is ridiculous. And he does end up saying that he still leans in towards his favor, but Bernie Sanders hasn't caved to identitarianism. In fact, that's an insane charge to levy against a man who all of his speeches are just filled with substance, every single one of them. And then Dave Rubin goes, a white man with 3 houses. Dave Rubin is both a dumbass and a smear merchant. He's both. He's that rare combination of both. Okay, he's both. Bernie Sanders is a senator of the United States. He is a senator in the Senate of the United States government. So he has to have 2 residencies. One of them is, I believe, like a condo in Vermont and then a small place in D.C. Okay, you have to have 2 residencies. Some people actually sleep. There's some congressional members who sleep in their office because it's so, ridiculously expensive to be able to afford 2 rents when one of those rents, especially when one of those rents is in D.C. So he has to have 2 because it's only practical, because you have to report to work and you also have to go back to your constituency. So that's a dumb smear. And the third one was one that was inherited and then sold by his wife's one of her family members. And then it's like they sold it and bought like a $600K lake house or something in Vermont. As if that in any way invalidates his proposals that he's proposed and the things that he's fighting for. It doesn't at all. And in fact, in California, if you live in California, you know how expensive houses are. They are through the roof here. And I don't know what Vermont's, numbers are, but virtually, there's almost nothing you could do to be hypocritical in that sense. There could be certain things you could do, I guess. But if you're a senator out there doing that, and I think FDR, wasn't he pretty well off or something like that? It's just a dumb smear that doesn't make any sense. I don't know how else to put it to you. If you're in the Senate and you're proposing those positions, you're proposing the bills, you're furthering the national dialogue, and you have a $600K lake house as the reason as to why you're a fraud, which is a $600K lake house, it's insane, dude. It's unbelievable. Anyways, this last clip we're going to look at to finish this off. Dave Rubin's going to repeat this tired talking point that he says about how the conservatives are super tolerant because they invite people like him to their events.
Just doing what you're supposed to be doing.
I guess, yeah.
Love both y'all. I'm a conservative and I have many strong political differences with you guys, but I appreciate both of you for your dedication in seeking the truth rather than promoting politically convenient narratives. Right on. Thank you.
Maybe the conspiracy is some organization created the regressive left to unify like your moderate liberal and conservatives into allying.
Dude, why do I keep getting invited to conservative things where I go up there, I tell them all these things that I disagree with them, and they keep inviting me back? It's very bizarre.
Yeah, I know.
Yet, I mean, really, if me and you said, let's try it right now. If a progressive organization, and not to mock us or to whatever, would invite us to a university or something, would you do it?
Absolutely, of course.
All right, so let's see. Maybe somebody will invite us, but probably not. Has anyone looked into the contractors Twitter uses to...
So we've talked about this one quite a bit because he just has this talking point on repeat because it furthers his narrative of being a left-wing gay tool, basically, is what he is. That is what he is for the right wing. But the problem is, Dave, you are a libertarian / conservative. Okay, and you've admitted that as well, where you said you're basically conservative. You are somebody who agrees with their positions. They're not going to invite someone who disagrees with their positions. And so the fact that a doofus moron like you can't see that, oh, the reason why they're inviting me to these events is because I am somebody who is a conservative. The fact that you can't see that is both mind-bogglingly, shocking and stupid, and just, I don't know. I mean, it's also expected because it's Rave Dubin. What do you expect from this guy? But overall, just some critiques here of Tim Pool and Dave Rubin.